Hey guys, today's video we're going to do some custom Mega G Plus builds. So as you guys know, we do a lot of custom builds. A lot of times this stuff you don't actually know what's available until you see it either in a video or on social media, which is the case here. So I built a custom car just to see how it would run. Posted a picture of it and had a bunch of people say, hey, I want that car, I want that car. So we're only able to do limited amounts of these ones because of some of the parts used, but I do have a couple of them set up right here to do right now. So without further ado, the Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris AFX cars. We are, I don't have my knife. We gotta go get my knife. But we're gonna build them up and hopefully make a pretty decent set of cars out of them. We'll track test them. Got my knife to cut those packages open. So when we do the AFX cars, a lot of times we will reuse or we'll salvage the packaging so that they're not ruined. If somebody does want to put the cars back in these things, they can. So what I normally do is I cut right around the inside edge about 3-4 inches up, and then I pop it forward. So we're gonna do this here. There's not really an easy way to do it. Just make sure that you don't cut yourself. Viper's not responsible for you cutting yourself. I'm gonna actually swap this to the new side of the blade. So I was cutting some pit mats yesterday. There we go, much better. But we do this just so that if a guy wants to store his car, you can see how that pops open and you can pull the car out and your packaging pretty much restored. I mean, you could literally keep your cars, you could keep them like that if you wanted to. If you wanted to seal it back up, I usually just use a piece of clear tape, but once the car's in there, it can't come out anyway. So just a little tip there. If you would like to keep, oh my gosh, I can't even get that thing out. If you'd like to keep your packaging, I usually don't keep it, but I'm also not kind of your traditional collector. I usually just won't open it if I plan on keeping it. Oh my gosh, look what I just did. Wah, wah, wah. Don't do that. So if you do that, just start on the other side. Okay. And come back around underneath and then join it together so that it still pops open the way that you want it. I'm probably just going too fast, but you know, the cars they just want to go fast. I want to go fast. We all want to go fast. Where the heck is my cut line here? But I don't mind showing you guys stuff like that too, because it can happen to anybody, even someone that's done it a freaking 100 times. But the good part is it's on the back, you know, so you're not looking at that, especially if you have the cars displayed. Everything still works properly. No harm, no foul. So we got the two cars here. Lando with the yellow helmet, Oscar with the blue helmet. And we're gonna basically tear these things apart and get them fixed up. So a lot of guys with these cars, because they have the rainbow Google wheels, a lot of guys, you know, they get upset when we start taking that stuff apart. But honestly, if you want the car to perform well, you got to get rid of that stuff. It is better, I will say. It is better than it has been in the past, but I mean, I don't know if you can see the wiggle and the wobble there, but that does transfer to the track. So we're gonna pull the front end off. I used to use a puller on these, and we'll pull the rear end first. I used to use a puller, but the puller pops a hole in the wheel, and these actually don't have holes in them anymore because at the factory they're just pressing the front wheels on until they stop on the until the axle stops inside of the cavity. So in order to save these, because usually when we do builds like this, we give the customer all the stock stuff back. So if they want to use the stock stuff, they can. But I've actually been using a pinion tool, and you use the fork part of it, and you can pop the rim off of there, which you can see this rim, or sorry, this axle is knurled, and that pretty much makes it to where it's not reusable. But if you put it back together, I mean, you can kind of see how wobbly this stuff is, but it is intact. So if a guy wanted to put this stuff back the way that it was, he absolutely could. So, and we're using the fork end of the pinion tool. I'm sure you could maybe use a little bit of heat. That one actually came off a lot easier than the red or the yellow one. So could be a little bit of a difference in the molds on the two, but we're gonna keep all the parts so that the customer can get those. We do change out the pickup shoes, so I'm gonna throw on my extra glasses here, pull the shoes out without the spring flying like it just did. This one, look at it, it's got some factory fuzz on it already. It does not want to come off of there, so customer's getting that too. I thought it was a piece of plastic at first that was under the hinge point, but it wasn't. Okay, so we're gonna install some Viper Mega G Plus pickup shoes. We're gonna use the silver ones. I am out of these right now, by the way. This is all that I got left until our next run comes. But to install these, we're going to hook it, which these I do differently than like when I install the Viper shoes, but it's mostly because the hook is so big on the backside that you kind of have to do that. So you have to hook it first. You can't slide it down and pop it in there. Look at that. Can't tell me that silver doesn't look better than copper. I mean, I guess you could, but the thing that's cool about silver is when someone sees it, they know that it's not stock. They know, like, hey, what is that part? So, and silver happens to be the most conductive plating that's offered. So the only downside to silver is that over the years, it will start to oxidize. So even like this bag, you know, these things I can tell they're starting to get kind of a, I don't know, like a rosy hue to them. Rosy hue?
Who's that?
I think I went out with her. No. But yeah, they're getting a rosy hue to them. So it's kind of, you know, you got to use them. Definitely got to use them. If you want them to just sit there, probably not the right parts to use. I would go with gold, but we're gonna go ahead and put some orange front ends on these. I'm just gonna make sure that all of these rims are happy. Something that you always want to check on your front rims, make sure it's independent. So we want them to slide on there real nice. Get out our retainers here. And this, I mean, really this step applies to all independent front ends. This is the same process used. Let's see. Where the heck? One of my setup blocks is missing. But yeah, this process here applies to any independent front end. So I usually put the retainer on a hard surface, which in this case I'm using an old setup block. You can use whatever you want. If your table, I mean, if I wasn't working on this pad, I'd have it on the table and that would be fine too. But first thing you want to do, press that on there. I'm not hammering it on there, I'm just pressing it in there. That's kind of step one, and since we're doing two, we're going to just repeat that step here. So repeat that. You can use any object. You don't want to hammer it. If you hammer it or use any kind of shock force, you could crack the retainers, and that doesn't matter if it's a machine retainer like the Viper one or a molded retainer like the other ones out on the market right now. You don't want to do that. You want to do a nice smooth press. So we're going to fuel up real quick. Okay, now we're ready to rip. So install one side. I always start on this side. That's just the way I like to do it. And then we're literally going to repeat the process. The only tricky part is now we are putting the entire car in there. But what I like to do is push it down, and you can see how the retainer has pushed this part up and out. I'll hold that nice and square and push this down. Now, if you slip right here, you usually slip and smash your finger, and it feels great. So don't do that. But you want to have a little bit of play. Make sure you have a little bit of side play. If it's too tight, you could back it off a little bit with a puller, which I am going to do here just a smidge. So we're probably like, I don't know, probably 5 thou too tight. Something to point out too is on a plastic sectional track like a AFX track or a old Tyco, you do want to run a lot sloppier front end on that, because all of the joints and the slots and stuff, it just makes the car track better if the front end can do this and the car can stay going straight. So just a little tech tip there. Now we're installing our front wheels or front tires. So this one, we're using the 390, which is pretty close to stock size on these. Front end. These are white, so made out of a really good material. And then I like to pull them out. And you just kind of work them on. Because they're so tall, there's a lot more material there to try to get squared up than there would be on something like this. Like, these are a lot smaller and they take a seat a lot better. But there's that so far. Looks really slick. Even matches, kind of matches the motor. Kind of matches the body. You know, it's kind of is, sometimes that's all we can get, you know. So we're gonna put this front end on, and then we'll throw the front wheels on there, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, definitely remember though to keep the front with, you know, this probably has 20 thousandths of side to side play. That's something you can play with too. I mean, it sounds crazy, but if you have a track like our test track that has all these tight S's, you can play around with how loose that front end is. And really, as long as you don't go outside of the maximum width allowable, which that's maximum width per Hopra rules. If you don't play by anybody's rules, then it doesn't matter. But you can make that front end more sloppy and see how it goes through there. And hey, on your track, you might find that making it very tight, and it's not tight, you don't want it tight because the front wheels need to be able to turn, but you might find that making it snug is the key to not having the car de-slot. But you know, down the road we'll do some driver and I guess like car tuning videos on the like testing different things on the track back there, and we'll probably call that cartoons, you know, but it'll be TUNES so that we don't get any flack from anybody. But yeah, we'll do that, and I'll teach you guys how to test different parts and to get a accurate you know, an accurate feel for how it worked. And a lot of times, you know, what works for one person might be different for someone else, but the majority of the things, you know, if you start running a car and you're testing all these things, I usually go back to where you started just to make sure that your baseline hasn't changed. And but that's for another video. So now I've pulled the pinions. AFX has definitely improved this pinion over the short tip version that were very wobbly, but it's still not right. Like, it's good, but it's still not where it needs to be. And what happens on these things is if the whole gear is doing this, then as it goes away, it makes a lot of play with your crown gear right here. It moves away from it, and as it moves into it, it'll push that thing until it can't push it any further into the chassis, and it'll get tight. So it's like tight, slow, tight, slow. I don't know how many of you guys have ridden a bicycle with a bent wheel that feels like you're doing this because it's hitting the brake, but that's essentially the same thing that it's causing the slot car to do. So we're gonna put pinions on these, and we're gonna build some rear ends for them. I should have all my stuff here to build some rear ends. Let's just make sure. So we have a 23 tooth Mega G Plus crown gear, which is a great upgrade if you want to upgrade the gear set. This whole setup here, I wouldn't bother putting tires on it. I would recommend swapping this whole thing out. Once you pull the wheels off, you kind of ruin them because the axle's knurled. That also goes for whatever tires you put on, or rims you put on this. If anything, I would say just put a set of Viper slip-on tires on there and enjoy the rear end. If you're married to this look with the red Pirelli look, which is great, but it only looks good. I mean, running a race group where you're limiting what guys can run, or if you're limiting to stock tires, I would definitely recommend you don't do that because there's so many inconsistencies there. It just makes it for not as fun of a race night. And someone like me that knows that there's variables between tires might buy 20 cars and take the best one set of gears and axles out of that to put into that car, and it makes a huge difference. I've talked about that before in videos, so that's why I'm kind of against any kind of box stock racing that has to do with a mass-produced toy car, such as any stock slot car from any of the main toy manufacturers. That's different for aftermarket high performance stuff. That is a different story because the cars are a lot more consistent, and you can definitely get away with doing that. But all right, so getting these axle setups going here. So these are going to be pretty close to the same setup that we sell on the website. The only difference here is that we are using some old school, obsolete, can't get them anymore. You know, only a couple, you know, certain people might have old stock of these, but we're using some old school silicone sponge tires. I think these are Wizard ones. These look a lot like the Wizard ones. I mean, if you guys know, let me know, but I think Wizard used to call them Law, L-A-W, all caps. Not sure if that was an acronym or if they just call them law tires. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But somebody watching this, you guys might know. You guys might know why they're called law. But we got to go into the Viper room and grab a couple of pinions for these bad boys. So let's head down there and see what's happening. All right. Geared up. Is that your watch?
Yeah.
Cracked your screen on the stupid cart.
It's solid crystal.
Yeah, high performance.
Little scratch before it breaks.
Okay, so this is one of the best upgrades you can do, is upgrading the gear set. So the 7-tooth pinion that we offer on the site and the rear end setup works really good. One thing with the rear end setup though is it does, normally the ones that we sell on the site, they have a narrow wheel that gets you into the gear sizes, or sorry, the tire sizes for all of the popular Viper sized tires. So all the narrow tires, that's what that gets you into. And there's probably like, I don't know, I always say there's like 50 different possibilities. I think there's probably more than that, and I probably should double check, and because it could be like 70. Whereas with the standard Mega G Plus stuff, we only have like one size. So one thing to just point out here, and this is two of what appears to be the exact same cars. This one has nice gear play, nice and quiet. This one's tight. So that is just the joy of stock stuff. So looks like on the inside of the axle hole there's a couple little burrs in there, which definitely will cause some gear problems. So we're going to try to cut those off. Make sure nothing looks funky on our stuff. So, and it's still tight, so as much as that sucks, we're going to have to space that one a little bit less. And this is a perfect example of why stock stuff is just not ideal. You know, a lot of times when you run in stock stuff, you run into this thing where it's like, hey, I built this thing 100 times and having this problem or that problem, and it's just annoying. But this one, you know, looking at it, it might be, I might have pushed this axle on just a smidge too far, and the splines are sticking out, which could keep the it would keep the spacer from going on all the way, because the spacer bore is only so big. So it might have been that, it might have been my fault. But even if it is, I'm not going to take back what I'm saying about the stock inconsistencies. So still doesn't sound 100% the way that I would like it to. Let's see, let's put this spacer back on there. Still a little bit tight. It's so weird, I can see it like sideways on there. But we're gonna figure it out. Oops, wrong. Oh, that's good. Yeah, this is one of the downsides to, you know, with the spacers. If you have too big of a hole in the spacer. Okay. Too big of a hole in the spacer, then the spacer will just like, it just walks around on it. You really don't want that. But we got the chassis deburred. We got the axle moved over just a smidge to hopefully make that better. Let's see, I'm just gonna put these spacers away real quick. That one says it's an 18. Let's check and see what we actually went with here. Okay, so the 15 is what we ended up going with on this one. We ended up with the 20 on that one. So the 20 is our normal spacer. We don't normally put a 15 on these, but that's what that car wanted. And since we're building this one custom, that's what it's getting. So something to keep in mind. Sometimes guys will put, and even me, like on a race car, sometimes I'll put a 3.5 thou spacer on also, and I'll just leave it on the outside of the chassis. Just so that if the gear mesh does loosen up, or if something in the chassis loosens up, especially on a toy branded car like these, I don't have to pull the whole rear end apart again or pull one wheel off and re-shim it. I'll just move that shim over, and a lot of times that's all that it takes. So now we're gonna get into installing our rear tires. So we're gonna grab a bigger arbor here, because our normal arbor, you can see it just floats around in there. We have a larger arbor that we're using. These cars, because we're running sponge tires on them, I am not upgrading the magnets in them. There's plenty of magnet strength from the stock magnets with this setup. Obviously down the road, if the customer wants to put more mag in it, they certainly can. But these ones are not getting that right now. We're gonna measure our width. So 1 inch, 283. So we're well under our 1 inch 310. So I'll go ahead and pull these over a little bit, just to kind of, I don't know that I can say that it makes a huge difference on performance, but it might look better. So 1 inch 311. You can tell I've done that a few times. And that is pretty much the finished car. Now, one thing that we do have to do on these, because we're running this big front tire, is we have to adjust the pickup shoes on them. So we'll get to that part. A lot of that's done kind of on the track, but that's essentially the car. It's not oiled yet, but we'll oil it up after we get this one going here. Actually, you know what? We're gonna oil it now so we can run it for a little bit. So oil in all of the normal points. Man, you can see this one, like, look at this. See that plastic right there? That's from them, basically, their tool or something smashing that magnet into that pocket, and it just moved material as it went down in there, which, like, I know AFX gets a lot of crap by a lot of guys, and I know that maybe that doesn't matter, but maybe it does matter. And I think to me it's more of like the pride in building a quality slot car. That's not something that I would say I would be super proud of if I knew that a process was literally smashing plastic out of the back of my slot car. I don't think that I would be proud of that, you know? And even the people that are putting these together, like, they should have more pride than this. I think that what's happening is they think, this is just going to some, you know, 7-year-old kid, like, what's he gonna care? And the reality is this is going to 57-year-old kids that still enjoy their hobby or are getting back into their hobby, can't even get it out of there. Thing's mega. But I can't live with that thing being in there.
Press the magnet back out.
Yeah, so that's it right there. Big old flake of chassis. But we got it all oiled up. We're gonna put it on here. Let it run for a little bit while we put the second one on. This one doesn't have it quite as much, so it might actually be a chassis mold problem, but you guys might say, well, what does that matter? Well, it matters because if we take a magnet, okay, and we put it close to this, you see how it picks that up? If I'm up here, what's happening? It's not doing anything, okay? So the reason that matters in there is because if there's plastic under that magnet, then one side of the magnet is closer to the track than the other side. You'll have uneven downforce, which can make the car not handle good. And if you have a car that has that problem and you have another car that doesn't have that problem, guess what? That other car is gonna beat that car every single time. So that's why it's a problem. And more so than the performance is, like I said, the pride of building a quality product and being content and happy with how that goes out. You know, like that's something that can be controlled. It should be controlled. And, you know, that's something that we strive for on all of our stuff that we build here. And I think that you know, it's important for other brands to do the same thing. I know that they don't like going on and having people say, oh, this problem, that problem, this problem, that problem. Like, nobody likes dealing with that. You can avoid a lot of that. So same goes for Auto World. You know, I mean, I think people just accept the fact that, like, oh, it's a $20 slot car, what do you expect? I mean, does it matter? Like, it should be good. Like, if you buy a $10 burger or a $15 burger, you're still expecting them both to taste good, right? So this one, getting her oiled up. Okay, and one thing I am going to do on these cars, both of them, because of seeing that magnet problem, is we're going to seat the magnets, but we're actually going to check something really quick. So we're going to check on the White Dog magnet force meter. We're going to see if there is a difference between these two cars. So the way this thing works is it only measures downforce. It doesn't care about tire size. It doesn't care about pickup shoe spring tension. It only cares, and it doesn't even take into consideration the weight of the car. It only checks downforce. So because this plate that's in here won't give us a full accurate reading because it's holding the car up. Let's see if we can pull the rear end out and get it to fit. Yeah, so we'll have to still compare them. It's just not ideal because this is set up for like a Viper. So it's 9.8 grams on that one. And this one is at 10. So not a huge amount, but it's still 2%. And 2% is 2%. I mean, most of us, cost of living goes up a couple percent, makes a difference, just like this stuff does. Just to compare that real quick to, I don't know, a V3, or sorry, a V1. Now this car is all the way down on there, but you can see we have 71 grams of downforce. So huge difference. A lot of it is because this is up like that. So if we put it down, 17.4 and 20.6. So that probably is giving you a more accurate number of the actual downforce difference. But in order to really get it perfect, we'd have to make a new plate there or put a different plate in there that just holds the car differently. But we're not going to do that today because I mostly use this tool for checking magnet strengths on the aftermarket cars and whatnot. So now we are going to, I really want to find my damn setup block because I want to tweak these shoes. Let me go grab John, or see if John has real quick. You can pause that. All right, so we got our block here. The reason I like using this block over this one is because when I run the car back and forth, a lot of times I'll run the guide pin into this, and when that happens, not only can it not go forward, but it also pushes the pickup shoe off of the rail, which is what I'm trying to look at. So this particular car, it's hitting on the backs really hard. So what I'll do is I'll put my nail on the back of the shoe and I'm gonna push down. And we are gonna do this until we have very close pickup shoe wear. Like on this shoe, actually I think that was from earlier. Let me look at it. Okay, yeah, so this side, it still needs to come down. And this is something, guys, there's no video angle. There's no process that I could show you guys that would, other than just telling you and then having you just start trying it and just understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve. That's really the only way to learn how to do this process. So I run it back and forth a few times to just try to get some witness marks on there. You can see this one, it's got good witness on the front. This one's pretty close, so that car is very close. We're gonna go ahead and put the body on it. Something I have learned with these formulas is that they hold the car so tight that you have to make sure when you put the body on and you put the car back down that it's not lifting one tire, because a lot of times that will happen because the body actually tweaks the chassis. And these things are already super nose light, but there's one car, looks really good. Something I did notice is that rear wing is not molded very flat. Like, man, that really pisses me off. I don't want to rag too much on AFX in this video, but you just, like, come on you guys. Like, even if you're in the factory working, like, you can't be okay with that. Like, you just can't be okay with that. Okay, so what I'm looking for is how flat the shoe is, and I'm also looking to see if I can see daylight under the shoe, because if you overbend them, you'll end up with daylight under the shoe. And if you have daylight under the back of the shoe, you have to put your fingernail under the middle of the shoe and pull it down and try to bend it a little bit more back to where it was, which can be a pain in the butt sometimes. It's always better and easier to try to nail it the first time, but like I said, practice makes perfect. Changing the front tire size will affect the shoe wear also on these cars because of the design. What the heck, dude?
Is that on there crooked or is that front spoiler?
It's the body.
Your body's tweaked.
I don't know what that's from, but that's, look at that. The back one's okay. So we need the front half of this body and the back half of this body.
Between the two of them, it's one good car.
Yeah, and the sad part is that might come out of the same mold like that. I can't believe that. Hold on a second here. I gotta make sure that, nope, it's definitely, oh, man. Well, we're gonna make sure, we're gonna run it. We're gonna make sure the work that we did is okay. And then we'll go back and see if we can fix that body with the heat gun. Look at it. So this car, look at that rear wing.
Okay.
Not good, right?
Yeah, it looks like it was warped.
Okay. Front looks okay. It's way up in the air though, it's super high. The back wing on this one looks pretty good, huh?
Yeah. The heck? But they sat in the sun
I don't know.
like this.
I don't know. It's
They
like,
put them in their back pocket.
Well, they're usually packaged like this, which would put the front and the rear on the same side. And they could have been in the sun or
yeah.
something.
I mean, they have that blister though, that
Yeah,
they have that
packaging's
insert
fine.
in them, you know.
Maybe they
which
come off of the tree and the mold.
is just, they could hang up on the mold, you know, where it like, it hangs up on that side. But, okay guys, we're at the track. We're gonna track test these mugs. Think on these things, I forget what stock ones run, but anything on around 4-second lap time on these to me is pretty happy. Ooh, crashed her. But I usually run a couple laps and then I'll check the shoe wear. My controller is, oh, I'm dialing the wrong one. Number one thing with an adjustable controller is knowing where your sensitivity is and where it's not. Even me, I have multiple controllers. Different manufacturers put the dials in different spots, which drives me crazy. Yes. We can check the shoe wear. So as you can see, it is still a little bit nose high on this one, or nose heavy. So we'll do a little bend here. On these cars, they are pretty sensitive to that for making power. So the better that contact patch is, the more power they can make. So super consistent, 4 4s, 4 5s. Check the shoe wear. All right, so it's getting really close. One side is really good. The other side is getting there. So we're gonna make a little bit of adjustment, and then this one we'll probably call it good. So one thing I am noticing is a little bit of sputter coming out of the corners, which is probably it lifting the pickup shoe. These being brand new tires too, like they are super stuck, like really high traction. And if you've ever driven a car with a locked rear end, or seen like a muscle car or something like that, when they turn and they're like, that's usually what it is. We'll use John's cleaner here. Okay. See, that was so much traction, it literally just drove straight out of the corner. So the more you run it, scuffing those tires in will eliminate that. But a lot of people too, they like running dirty tires, as you guys have seen in our other videos. But that one, 4.5 was our lap time. So 4.49. That one you can see too, real good shoe wear. Needs a little bit more on this side. Drove out of the slot. Which our track, because it's so smooth, the surface has no texture. It's like the most high downforce or high grip you could possibly get, which sometimes isn't good. You know, like on a sectional track, there's a lot less grip there for the car, and there's less opportunity for it to try to de-slot, like when it's going into a tight corner. Our inside lanes too on this track, on those corners, are tighter than the inside lane on a 6-inch radius Tommy. So because of this table size, man, that car is not as happy. But I'm gonna do something real quick here just to rule things out. We're gonna change the rear end. Let's see if, yeah, so you can see how much better right off the bat this one goes. And these tires, I can see they're not as glossy. It's not as glossy as these ones are. These ones here, if we try to roll them, you can see it, they just stop right away. So super, super high grip. But once they break in, it'll obviously get better as they break in. So we will now move to the back. I got to plug in some stuff, but we're going to try to straighten these wings out. I know John said not to. So this is the one, it's got some tweaking up there. Using a heat gun, I'm gonna keep my fingers somewhat close because that'll gauge how much heat is going on there. Okay, and it's getting pretty warm. But you want it to get nice and soft. Okay, and we are just going to bend it the opposite direction. Okay, and then we're going to try to cool it. If you have bad breath, you might get more than cooling out of it. But if you guys try this, please be careful. Like, don't ruin your body because you saw it like, oh, that looks so easy. You know, please don't ruin your body. We need something flat to. Okay, so eyeballed it. It's pretty damn good, huh?
Way better. I'd say it's good.
Yeah. So I'm just putting on my lips to see how warm it is. It's like, what do you do that on?
Your wife?
Yeah, sometimes. Maybe, okay, I was thinking about a baby bottle, but you squirt that under your arm, but I ain't freaking sticking nothing on my inner wrist. Heck no. So we'll check that in a minute, make sure once it's completely cool that it doesn't do anything funky. But it is honestly that easy.
This one's gonna be a little trickier.
Yeah, this one's got a little bit more mass back there, and the thing on this one that's really tricky is it's only held right in this bottom corner and then on the middle support right there. So this one is definitely a lot more tricky. Just be ultra, ultra careful if you're doing this. Like I said, I'm keeping my fingers close to judge how much heat is going into this stuff. Turn off. So the plastic is not quite hot enough to make it to where I can't keep my finger on there, and it's so thin that it cools down right away. But my left thumb, or my right thumb here, was pretty warm on that wing, which tells me that, you know, I got some good temperature in there. But It looks a little bit better, but I think we're gonna have to go a little bit more. Let's double check it. I mean, that's better, but I don't know if it's perfect. What do you think? Still needs to go?
Still bends a lot on the left, yeah.
Okay, we'll hit it some more. The more you do this, the more confident you'll be. But one of my unique abilities is, and the reason I tell you this, because I've never actually done this before. This is the first time I've ever done this. But one of my unique abilities is understanding how I should be doing something and what my end result is going to be, and then just being able to do that and achieve it. So I say that because on these, I fully understood what I was trying to do and what I needed to do and the process for doing that. So some of that comes from knowing how this product is produced too. Like, this is a plastic injection molded, it's molten plastic going into a mold. And basically that's probably where the problem occurred, is it getting ejected from the mold, or while it was still warm. These could have been in the bottom or something like that. So it might not be this easy for you. Looks good.
Yeah.
If I made it look easy for you, then enjoy. But also too, if you have bodies that are jacked up, don't send them to me. I don't want to be the body fixer guy. Just practice on old body. Let's check this guy. Yeah, it stayed. So we're good. We fixed them. That did two things. One, gave me confidence that I can fix stuff like that in the future. And two, it prevented me from having to send a message to AFX saying, in a picture, got these cars, blah, blah, blah. Like, they probably would have told me to keep them. I probably could have fixed them later on, but it's all good. We fixed it. These cars are going to be ready to go to the customer. And run 4.5 second lap times, which isn't bad. Once, on their track, the traction won't be as high as this. Even if it is, there's ways to reduce the amount of grip that these tires provide, which usually use a rotary tool with a little tire scuffer, which is like a pickup shoe cleaner, but it's very, very fine. And you actually will buff the shoe or the tires while they're going. I usually do that to all my race stuff, because I don't like how the car drives when it's super stuck with the stock, like fresh tires. But hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I don't think I forgot anything, but if you guys want a custom F1 car built, whether it be this body style or this livery or an older livery, let us know. We'd be happy to do it for you. We'll see you on the next one.